Welcome back to my channel. As promised, today I will be presenting the second half of the third eye chakra. The first half, the first video that I did, I'm going to link in the description for you. It was mostly medical, the medical perspective of the third eye, what it is, which is essentially your pineal gland. I went through it, as well as what blocks it, what calcifies it, and how you can tend to it from a medical perspective. Today we're just going to dive into spirituality full force. The third eye, in Sanskrit, the spelling is A-N-J-A, but it is pronounced Anja. Not Anja, although that is how it is spelled. Funny enough, I don't know why I feel the need to share this with you, but one of my first experiences when I immigrated to Canada in 2003 was with a woman who was also an immigrant herself to Canada. I forget the name of the country that she was from, but she was more towards the Caribbean. That's where she was from. And she had the spiritual side to her, although it was tainted. Her name was Anja. And I was always fascinated by that woman's name. Although I must say she did the term Anja, or the name Anja, quite the disservice. And this is not passing judgment, but just wanted to share that with you, that not everyone who claims that they are spiritual are actually spiritual. So Anja, or your third eye, is your seat, or the seat of your intuition. It is also in the spiritual realm described as the brow chakra, because that's essentially where it is located, in between your brows, in the center of your forehead. Anja is the center of your intuition, your wisdom, your consciousness, as well as your higher consciousness. And there is, yes, a big difference between your own consciousness and higher consciousness, but we'll get to that probably in a completely different video. So now let's talk about the attributes of the third eye, or Anja. Clear thought. Do you exhibit, or do you know anyone who exhibits clarity in thought? Think about that person and what draws you to them, or how you view them. Also, the ability to self-reflect is an attribute. I like self-reflection. It was something that I engaged in from a very young age, and I really don't know why. It was never, no one ever taught to me. I come from a society where nobody self-reflects. I come from a society that is extremely harsh and judgmental. But throughout my life, especially after the age of 25, I would say, I just developed this thing where at the end of every day I would reflect. I wasn't probably doing it the right way, because there was a lot of guilting and shaming associated with it, but I do recall going through the day and just scanning what I did, how I felt about what I did, truly examining yourself as the observer, without the feelings, the associated feelings, and albeit it might be hard to do. But that's a big attribute of the third eye, being able to self-reflect. Also, self-awareness. I also have to do a little bit of commentary about self-awareness, because the area that I'm in, and I really am trying, I'm not passing judgment, although it does seem that I am. I'm not. I'm laying out the reality that I observe on a daily basis, which is hard, which is a little bit hard when you become extremely self-aware and you understand awareness and how important it is to watch people cross the road with their head literally stuck in their cell phone, to watch the person driving next to you literally looking down on their phone, to just live with someone who's a zombie, literally like on autopilot. No thought, no awareness to themselves or to the people around them. Do you go grocery shopping? Do you find people standing in your way, getting in your way, driving you nuts? That's the self-awareness that I'm talking about. You don't have to be excessively self-aware, but you should not be a zombie. And in the area where I'm at, I live on the East Coast in Canada, I want to say that 80%, if not more, of the population have become programmed. I don't want to, like zombies, like literal zombies. There's no awareness. There's no thought process going on. It's very interesting. I'm going to also go a little bit on a tangent here. When you know what hit, I witnessed the arrows that went on everywhere. I didn't understand why a grocery store or a public space needed arrows to tell us how to walk. I almost got offended. I was offended. It is offensive to someone who has awareness. I found it very offensive, and society fought me tooth and nail because I refused to follow. Even friends, even people who are aware that I am spiritual and they know me on a personal scale, they were triggered by the fact that I would not follow the arrows. So that is also, it has to do, I believe, with self-awareness and programming and how we are programmed in society to become zombie-like and follow the societal norm without checking in with ourselves. It also, one of its attributes is actual spiritual awareness, not just awareness of yourself and your surroundings and the people around you, but the awareness that there is a spiritual aspect to humans and that there is a spiritual aspect to this life and this world that we occupy right now and we've occupied forever. The other thing is psychic, I was going to say powers, but to become psychic is not a power. It's an ability that you unlock, kind of like in a game. You know, those video games that you play, you unlock levels and things. It's no different. There are people who are psychic. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm psychic. But I sense definitely subtle energies, if you want to call that psychic, so be it. It's an ability that we all have, and we definitely can all utilize by unlocking. Another attribute that it governs is clairvoyance. If you're aware of all of the clairs, there's a whole bunch of them. Clairvoyance, which has to do with clarity in your vision, clarity beyond physical, beyond like the ability to see, clarity in sight. You can decipher and discern things, situations, without too much engagement in the thought process, without too much of a struggle. That is termed clairvoyance. The other attribute, which is funny if you've ever watched, if you've heard or watched the movie The Sixth Sense, that is actually a direct reference to your sixth chakra, which is your intuition. How is your sixth sense doing? Do you utilize it? Do you rely on it at all? Do you know that it exists? Or do you just sort of ignore it and laugh? There's no such thing. It's just another way to describe intuition. It's that gut feeling that makes you, even if the entire world is telling you not to do something, you know that that thing is you want to do it, and you go ahead and do it. Hopefully not harming people, but something that is for your interest, your best interest, and possibly the interest of those around you, if not humanity. The other attribute that it helps with or controls is imagination or daydreaming. I was recently interviewed by Yasmin Mohammed. Maybe I should link that. Let me see if I might, on Forgotten Feminists. And I referenced daydreaming as a young girl growing up in Saudi Arabia in I grew up under radical Islam, severely oppressed, misogyny, the whole thing. Well, one of the things I would do is I would engage in daydreaming because it was literally the only escape I had. I was locked, I was locked at home a lot. There was a lot of confinement, physical confinement that I was subjected to as a child and as a young woman growing up. So I really was left with nothing but to just have a very, very active, wild imagination and daydreaming. And I'm probably going to do a video on this alone because a lot of people say, oh my God, you're so strong. How did you do it? How did you get out of Saudi Arabia? That's amazing. You know, a lot of women can't get out. And I truly believe if you look at the qualities, if you look at the forgotten feminists, I guess, that are interviewed by Yasmin Mohammed, there's one attribute that we all carry, and that is we daydreamed, we imagined, we had hope that we would one day leave. For me, I can tell you that I would literally stand in front of the mirror and act out scenarios. This happened over years throughout my life. And if you're a believer that you create your own reality energetically first before it begins to unfold outside of you, you will understand how women like myself ended up escaping radical Islam and hellholes like the country that I grew up in. It wasn't a miracle, and it might have to do a little bit with strength, but it definitely has to do with the fact that we had a very active third eye, even though we did not know it. Physically, it governs your mind, the autonomic nervous system aspect of your brain, nose, ears. With regards to the glands, it governs the pituitary and the pineal gland. The color that is represented by it is indigo. With regards to crystals, you can actually go with amethyst. I'm not sure if you can see this one. It's got a beautiful purplish indigo color going on here. Let me see if I can show you. So you can definitely use the energy of this crystal throughout your day while meditating. Or moonstone, which is here in this mala. And this mala, you can see the charm that's on it is actually sort of indigo-ish as well. It's labradorite, which is from Canada. So those are the two stones. You can also use, I guess, lapis lazuli. It has a little bit of indigo. Indigo comes in various shades, right? It depends on your preference. So these are the crystals. I keep calling them stones. But these are the crystals that you can utilize with intention if you wish to balance out your third eye. When you live in harmony with your third eye, you will find that you have become quite appreciative of independent thought. We live in a time where it's essentially herd mentality. All you need to do is go out, talk to a random anyone about any general topic. I'll give you an example. I live in Canada. We have a socialist healthcare system that has completely collapsed following COVID, thanks to our great leader, but I know no politics. But talk to any Canadian, especially those living on the East Coast. They will talk wonders about the healthcare system. Don't you dare criticize. And should you, oh my God, if you even bring the topic of private healthcare, it's as if they saw the devil, Lucifer. They will run away screaming and yelling. Not everyone, I realize I'm generalizing, but that is the herd mentality. So you will be able to recognize the herd mentality, the social norms, and you will also be able to recognize independent thought and appreciate it, and possibly exhibit it yourself. The other thing is you will become very focused and clear in your own thought process, which makes people come to you. You will become a magnet. In a society where people, the thought process has been essentially shut down by, mass media, the cell phone, the gaming, our thought process has been interrupted. So you're going to find yourself wise, people seeking you out for various kinds of advice. You are also going to find that you'll be able to learn rather than get traumatized by experiences, especially if they're more negative experiences. There's something that comes to my mind right now, which is contrast. There's no more contrast. Contrast is no longer allowed. We keep talking about diversity is our strength, but do you really live diverse lives? When I talk about contrast, I mean the good and the bad. Had I not been exposed to radical Islam, which is a lot of Canadians, a lot of people in the West, I'm sorry that I keep saying Canadians, I can only reference where I live. I'm not trying to dump on Canadians. Canadians are lovely human beings. But in the West, they've known freedom all their lives. There has been very little contrast other than the last 2.5 to 3 years, which, because of the lack of contrast that the West has experienced, they are unable to see the oppressive aspect, the violation of rights aspect that has occurred over the past 2.5 years. Because I lived under radical Islam, because I suffered, and I did get traumatized because my third eye was awake, but not to this level. I was not aware of the function of the third eye. I allowed my life under radical Islam to traumatize me and to taint me. But when your third eye, when you live in harmony with it, you will go through these experiences. I hope you never live under radical Islam. And you will be able to not be traumatized, but rather learn. Learn. There's a huge difference between being jaded, angry, judgmental, carrying the past with you constantly, and just knowing and learning, I lived here, it was awful. I lived here, it was so hot. Now it's cold. Oh, look at this contrast. It's very interesting. What do I prefer? You'll be able to become more, I guess, of the observer. So that's my little 2 cents worth with regards to living in harmony with your third eye, where you become less traumatized, less jaded by contrasting experiences that might not be to your liking as you get exposed to them, which automatically results in you becoming more of a forgiving, empathic, understanding human being. You no longer pass the judgment that you see everywhere on social media. Oh my Lord, do we love passing judgment on each other. You also, like I discussed, you're going to be able to go within yourself, introspect, self-reflect without judgment, without judging your own self and being hard on your own self, and without this feeling of shame. You'll be able to say, okay, I did this, that was not a good thing. You might go through an energetic release, shadow work, but then after that you understand. You remove the guilting, you remove the shame, you remove the self-judgment. We've touched upon this before, but one of the big signs that you're living in harmony with your third eye is you'll simply be able to acknowledge without the need for proof, without the need for scientific evidence, the spiritual aspect of humans as well as this life that we live in. You're also going to be able to trust and follow your own inner knowing. Rather than, I used to work in a salon, I used to be a massage therapist, I would beg the owner to just not play the news. 24/7 the news was on the radio station. It was unbelievable. I would, when she wasn't there, I would switch it off. And during the beginning of the pandemic, there were a couple of girls in that salon. It was fascinating to watch this, but she was planning to travel, and she would turn the news on, leave the client. She was a hairstylist. She would leave the client on the chair, sitting in the chair with whatever foils in her hair, and run to the news. Oh my God, the news. Oh, what? Oh, yeah, okay. So yeah, you won't be doing that anymore. Yeah, the knowing will come from within. You won't be completely dependent on the news or what the people around you want you to do or expect of you or all that stuff. You're also going to be able to exhibit empathy towards other beings, which is related to the removal of judgment, because you've been exposed to contrast, or you acknowledge that there is more than just black and white, that there are multiple shades, and you are able to see and allow for different perspectives other than yours. The other thing that might happen, probably will happen, that's the first thing that happened to me when I got my spiritual sort of knock, that knocked me out of my shell, was patterns. You're going to start to see patterns in yourself as well as in others. And this is, by the way, I still struggle with this. It's still the main reason I want to say that I don't really want to go out of my home, because I have yet to know how to deal with the very prominent patterns that I see I'm dealing with mine. Every time I see a pattern that arises, because they sneak up on you, I immediately start doing my shadow work. But other people, I really don't know how to deal with their patterns. I become like a deer in the headlights, because it's so obvious to me that they have a pattern. And I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to do. I try to behave normally, but it's still a work in progress for me. So patterns, if you don't know what those are usually traumatic events. It's energy. It comes out as energy from a trauma that the person or you have lived usually as a child. And you just play it out in a loop throughout your day and throughout your life. And this pattern keeps you stuck in many ways in your life that you might not be aware of, or you might be aware of and wondering, why the hell does this keep happening to me? So those are the patterns that you'll begin to notice and see and hopefully heal. The other thing is the imagination. Creativity and your imagination are going to run wild, which is amazing because we are creative beings. We're not here to follow the rules. I'm not telling you go break the rules, but there's something that happened, I guess, after, the invention of electricity and energy, the invention of the telephone, the invention of this, the invention of that. There was a drop in creativity in humans. When was the last big invention to the scale of energy, to the scale of math, to the scale, of medicine. When was the last invention that any human has come up with? Now let's talk about how living in disharmony or with a blocked third eye might manifest. Do you have, or do you know anyone who has bias towards other people or specific situations? Do you get attacked on Facebook and Twitter and social media? And do you find yourself worrying about who's going to attack you next? Do you find you're not able to speak your mind because the people around you are going to judge you? We live in a very judgmental time period in history where people project their traumas and how they see the world onto others. So that bias is going to be eliminated. You're actually going to see the good and the bad in a situation regardless, and you're going to remove your own self-experience and you won't apply it on that situation, which probably will bring in a lot more people into your life. If you don't think the same way as another person in every shape and form and agree with them, it's war. They'll go to war with you. And the divorce rates here are somewhere between 80 to 90%. So yeah, because we can't see eye to eye anymore. We refuse to. You're also going to find that only focusing on evidence, science. Where's the evidence? Show me the evidence. There's no evidence. Pfft, I don't believe you. Which is fine, considering this is how modern medicine has evolved. Now, the way I see it, modern medicine is failing. It's reached a point where it's just failed, and it needs to pivot. It needs resurrection. New energy needs to come into modern medicine. But again, that's a different topic. You will find that you're very focused on the 3D realm. 3D realm is here. What's around me? What can I see? What can I touch? What is the scientific evidence? So that is somebody who is living in disharmony with their third eye, because your intuition, body-mind connection, where can you put that under a microscope? And as such, you will find yourself and the people around you rejecting your internal guidance, rejecting your own intuition, and following the herd. They did this, and then they became rich, so I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become rich as well. You're gonna allow external things, external situations, advice from people who know nothing about you to influence your decision making, and that never results in anything satisfactory to unfold in your life. You're also going to manifest sinus and visual problems. You will find that you are a very judgmental human being. Easy to pass judgment. Whoa, easiest thing in this lifetime is to pass judgment onto another human being. I left the political arena during COVID. I literally dropped off the face of the earth. And the judgments are amazing. From people that supported me, that claimed that they understood me, that claimed this, that, and the other. That these people I didn't harm. I did nothing to harm these people, but they withdrew. I'm not complaining. I hope you see this for what it is. I'm giving you an example. I can only give examples from what I have observed in my own life. They withdrew their support completely because they passed a judgment onto me. Is that judgment appropriate? I don't know. I truly don't know. But I can tell you that nobody has come to me. The people who withdrew all their support and now bash me behind my back, and Iman is hate-filled, and Iman is blah, blah, blah. Nobody has even bothered to pick up the phone and talk to me or send me a message or what happened to you during COVID? Have you changed? Touch base with me. Nothing. Just the passing of judgment. Because it is extremely difficult to see the perspective of others when your third eye is blocked. The other thing is you will find yourself extremely ego-centered, egotistical, and ego-driven. A good example of that is the Prime Minister of Canada. Lack of imagination is another big one. However it presents in a person's life, just very dull life, very lack of creative, uninspired life. Also, your life might be riddled with anxiety and fear. You will also find that you or the person that you're dealing with an imbalanced third eye have extreme rigidity in thought. That's a big one. It's, I guess, the way in psychology it's termed indoctrination. And I know people here in the West don't believe that they are indoctrinated, but believe me when I tell you that I think the entire world struggles with indoctrination. It's not, I used to think when I came to Canada, I thought it was just limited to the Middle East. And I struggled for many years in Canada because I came here with an open mind and I expanded my mind more. But what I came across was extreme rigidity in thought, extreme people with very fixed, unshakable beliefs. I had clients that I would forward articles to and they would reject, like I was their healthcare provider. They would refuse to read the article because it's from this source or this person wrote it, and no. And it was hostile, it was a hostile exchange. And I'm like, can you not open your mind? What will happen if you read a source that you don't like? What's what? What's the fear here? But I guess, diversity is your strength, right? But when you live in a society that is heavily indoctrinated into only focus on skin tone and eye color and hair color and consider that to be diversity, then I guess, you struggle a little bit. So let's talk about how you can balance the fun part, how you can balance your third eye chakra. Imagine. Sit down and imagine. Sit down and daydream. Growing up in Saudi Arabia, when I would daydream, I would stare. I would just stare. And I would be at home. Usually I'd be locked at home, imagining and daydreaming. And sometimes my parents or whoever would walk by me and I would get insulted. They'd insult me. They would call me, in Arabic it's called mitannaha. Mitannahale. Basically, why are you staring like an idiot? And that, I guess, not knowingly, maybe this was passed down through the ages to stop people from balancing their third eye. I don't know, but you would get shamed because you would just be sitting there and daydreaming in your own mind. So I would encourage you, if you want to, do it in your own personal space. One of the things to envision, to imagine or daydream about, is light literally coming. If you can envision indigo, if you're able to imagine colors, imagine light coming directly into your third eye. Literally sit down and imagine this and breathe. Meditation is huge. If you want a quick and easy, well, I shouldn't say quick. If you don't meditate, meditation is going to be very difficult for you in the beginning because you have to clear your mind of thought. And I'll do a video on meditation. But meditation is one of the best ways to clear your third eye, especially if you have intention. Hold your crystals as you meditate. Do it daily, 5 to 10 minutes. Start small. Nobody's telling you to sit down for 5 hours and meditate. Now, mind you, when COVID started, I would literally sit down for, I think, the first few days of COVID, I spent the 48 hours in meditation. I would take breaks, don't get me wrong. But yeah, meditation is big. The other thing is exposure to sun, something North Americans hate. Go out in the sun, you're not going to die. You're not going to get skin cancer. You're good, okay? Give yourself 10 minutes under the sun before you start slathering sunscreen all over you. If you live in the area, I have a friend who lives up in Saskatchewan, and he can, I'm so jealous, he can see that he can access the Northern Lights. That's another thing. Go watch the Northern Lights. Book a trip just to do that. That might do it for you. Also, like we talked, expand your knowledge. Go dive into something. Go read a book about religion and try not to judge, right? With regards to the foods that you can indulge in, and I truly mean indulge. Purple foods or indigo foods or blueberries, beetroot, as well as cabbage. With regards to the affirmations, you can come up with whatever affirmation you want. I would strongly recommend you start getting creative with affirmations, but I trust and I follow my inner guidance. The other thing you should be saying to yourself is, I learn from my experiences. Yoga poses are many. One of them, I believe, is the fish pose. I'll try to, you might want to check the description for the yoga poses. And with regards to the mudra involves the middle finger touching the pads. The other fingers are bent, and then the thumb touching the pads. That's the mudra. And with regards to the mantra, it is You can play with the vibration. Play with the vibration as you chant the mantra and as you meditate. That concludes my presentation with regards to the third eye. I hope you enjoyed the woo-woo aspect of the pineal gland. Please do check the description. I'll put some links there for you, including the medical perspective that I did, which was part 1. And I can't wait to see you in the final chakra presentation, which is going to be the crown.